All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Rebecca Rusch, and I am so honored to be here today with this amazing group of women, live cycling athletes from around the world, in the US. And what brought us here together today is that this group are some of the first women and only women who have been riding the amazing Live Devote, which is the new women's gravel bike that just came out. And everyone here on this panel has had a few months training and riding and exploring on this bike. So I thought it was a really good excuse to get together some people that I've really wanted to talk to for a while and that I really admire, with the common thread of that we're all riding the same bike, but in totally different ways, which is really cool. So we have tonight on our panel discussion, Aisha Mcgowan, who is from Atlanta, Georgia. I hope I have that right, Ayesha. Is that right? I've been doing some research on you guys.
I live here.
What's that?
Not from here, I live here.
You live in Atlanta, Georgia. We have a really cool representation of people from all around the US, which is great. So from Atlanta, Georgia, and Aisha found cycling as a commuter, which is pretty cool. She was a preschool music teacher, and now probably almost everybody knows about her. She is a road racer, a very well-known road racer, and on a mission to really show representation in cycling for women of color or people of color. And Aisha has been on the scene, gravel racing, road racing. I don't know if you've done any mountain bike racing. We can talk about that. But you've been on the Devote for a little while. One story that I really love that I read about you is that your grandmother is your mentor and that you will ride 100 miles to go visit your grandma for a training ride. And I thought that was a really cool story I want to ask you about a little bit later. We also have Crystal Anthony, who is a mountain bike and cyclocross racer from Bentonville, Arkansas, and also endurance sports coach, a foodie. Her website has a ton of recipes on it, which is pretty great. And also marathon runner. You almost went to the Olympic trials for marathon running, which is really cool. And her mission is really giving back to cycling via coaching. You're gonna see a common theme among all these women who are giving back via cycling, what cycling has given to them. Scipio, Chicago, Illinois, my former hometown. Also has a commuter background, found cycling as a commuter, but she's also a freelance designer, an entrepreneur, and a part-time bike mechanic. And most recently, I've been watching you on Eco Challenge, adventure racer, and her love is really bike packing and ultra endurance and cyclocross. But she also road races, mountain bike races, kind of does it all. And then we also have Serena Bishop Gordon from Bend, Oregon, who is a mountain bike racer, dabbles in a lot of other things, but her heart is on just the single track mountain bike trails. I know that for sure. And we've raced against each other. It's been really fun to race against you. And she also, she races for Live Factory Racing Team. She's also a cycling coach and a writer, and spends as much time as possible outside. And you were just visiting Idaho, and I'm super bummed we didn't get to catch up. So sorry about that. I was really hoping we'd ride our Devotes together. So I'm gonna go through one by one. Really what I'm interested in you guys is a little bit of I touched on how you found cycling, but gravel is like this new word that everybody's talking about. It's like gravel's like this new kind of cycling. And, I happen to have an event called Rebecca's Private Idaho that's going into year number 8. And I didn't really know it was a new thing because riding on dirt's been around for a long time. But it's a really cool new category that I feel like has welcomed a lot more people to riding. Because it really is this melting pot place that, mountain bikers, roadies, beginners, pros, all can sort of come together on the same playing field. And I'm a mountain biker at heart too, but I launched a gravel event because I felt like it was more inclusive and more people would feel comfortable joining on gravel. And that's what we're seeing happening and exploding. And it's so exciting that the Devote is here because it's the only really dedicated women's designed gravel bike out there, which is really cool. So let's see. Sam, I want to start with you and ask you about your experience when you first got the Devote and you first got into gravel, and just kind of tell us about your introduction to gravel and the Devote.
Yeah, so I got introduced to gravel within the first year, I started racing, and a friend of mine that I just joined a team, we were on the same team, and she's like, I got this wild idea. I want to get a big group of women together to race like a 200-mile gravel race, single speed. And I had never done gravel. I didn't know what it was. And I said, yes, of course. And that was kind of my introduction. So I think that goes to show that it really is a place where people of all levels can feel welcome. You can choose to race against other people, or you can choose to race against yourself, against the course, against the sun, against how much food you have in your bag and how much water is in your bottles. Like it can be a different challenge in a lot of different ways. So that was kind of my experience when I got into it, and one of the things I still love about it. And so
add anything that I missed in your bio and your brief introduction. What do you like? Who are you as a cyclist? If I'm sure I missed a ton of stuff.
Yeah, I'm the one that just says yes to anything you ask me to do. The more extreme it sounds, the more likely I am to try it. Just putting myself out there and trying to drag people with me to try new stuff and fun stuff and big stuff.
And so why the desire to go really big and really long? Where has that like always been with you?
No, it hasn't, but I think as I like develop into a person that lives in a city and that like operates a certain way in society, those kind of long stretches and really remote places of being and experiencing things are kind of like a stark opposite to how we live our daily lives.
Yeah.
Right? We're being asked more and more to use our brains and to use our bodies not at all to do work. And I think the majority of us especially are beginning to just sit at computers and do work. So it's like, how do we challenge our bodies in the same way that we're challenging our minds on a daily basis? And like, how do I do that for 2 weeks at a time and completely shut off my mind? Well, I'm using my mind a little bit, shut that part down a little bit and just all body for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that balance too. I'm with you. I'm kind of one of those people who could go for days, and I'm happy doing that too. It's been really cool watching you on the Eco Challenge and watching your adventure there. I used to adventure race a lot. And I remember hearing at Sea Otter that, you know, Sarah from SRAM was like, Sam's going to Eco Challenge. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. You know, it seems like so long ago. So now it's really cool to be watching you in action on TV. Yeah. That's amazing. All right, Crystal, I want to hear from you. Your first ride on the Devote. When you got it, you unboxed the Devote, and you've been riding on dirt for a while, so that's nothing new. How was your first date?
Well, coming from New England, I didn't know that there was a separate thing as gravel. Like I always just used road tires. If you had good road tires, you could ride the dirt roads. And since I've lived in Arkansas and tried doing the same thing and exploded my road bike tires, I realized that there is a separate category called gravel in its own right, and it's technical and it's fast and it's different from road riding. And here in Arkansas, there's endless amounts of gravel everywhere. I mean, people have heard of the mountain bike trails here, but not so much the gravel, but it's really just anywhere. So having a bike specifically designed for that is very exciting because, you know, you can take it far here. So taking it out, we live right on mountain bike trails. So I took the Devote on some single track. I took it on pavement. I took it on gravel roads, dirt roads, and everything. So it was just super versatile, and it just felt like the bike for everything around here.
It's been really cool to see how the equipment is matching where people want to go. Like people want to go exploring, they're pushing their equipment to the limit, you know, like you're taking a road bike and just going on other trails just because you wanted to go there, and like having the equipment that is matching kind of where your heart and soul wants to go. I kind of love that. I think it's pretty great. I got to do the Arkansas high country route last year, which was really amazing, really hard, really hilly. You live in such a beautiful state for riding. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. And there is elevation here, even though we don't have big mountains.
Tons.
Like it'll add up.
So where are you riding? What are you riding now? Like what kind of stuff are you doing around Bentonville?
Everything. I mean, there's road, there's gravel, like serious gravel. We have hollows, like basically down to the riverbed, and it's just a riverbed. That's sort of a road. So it's this big chunky gravel, and then, there's some nice dirt roads, a lot of dogs. That was something, that's a
I
new thing
remember
with
that.
gravel. We should talk about that at some point, like just how people deal with that. But yeah, and then we have mountain bike trails forever here too. So
That's awesome.
it's just like the rock here is very sharp. So
Yeah.
I think that's having the right equipment becomes a lot more in focus here than maybe some other places. So
yeah, I felt like for me, the Devote, I felt like it rode like a mountain bike, but it's fast like a road bike. It's like, to me, I'm like, I don't know how they did it, but it felt like the best of both worlds. Like I felt really confident on single track, but also not sluggish or doggy on, gravel roads or roads. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Pretty fun. Hey, Ayesha, so I want to know, one, did I miss anything in your bio? I'm sure I did, that you want to tell the world about. And then also kind of your experience riding right now and what you're up to at home.
I don't know about the bio. I did notice the thing about my grandma, and I think it's important to note that the reason I rode to my grandma's house is because she absolutely forbid it. And so I surprised her. I told her I was coming because you have to tell her that you're coming, but I showed up on a bike and she was very confused and also a little upset, but she got over it. I think it was more of like with my family, they get really nervous because, the rhetoric around riding bikes is not the best as far as safety, especially on the roads. And so they're just concerned, and I'm super confident. So I rode my bike to my grandma's house and it was fine. But
what I love about that story is that you said something about your grandmother is that she doesn't ask for permission. And
sure
I think that's maybe something that you have inherited in your world, is like not asking for permission to be included in a road race, or you race solo without a team road racing. You're carrying your own wheels, you're your own mechanic, you're getting it done yourself. And you're not asking for permission to be invited. You're like, I'm here, I'm doing it. So I think your grandmother maybe handed that down to you.
A little, at least. We're quite similar.
So what's on your riding agenda right now? What are you working on?
There is nothing on the racing agenda. But I've been getting pretty creative with the riding agenda. And I've really been enjoying the Devote a lot. I've taken it on single track, I've done gravel rides, I've done road stuff, and I don't feel like it lacked in any of those places, which was really fun. I did a bikepacking trip, a short bikepacking trip, and that was really cool. And there are lots of mounts for things. I did a trip with Sam last year on a different bike, and I like to bring a lot of stuff. So yeah. It's great. Like I used the Brava, and it doesn't have all the mounts because it's a cross bike, but I did this duct tape zip tie situation that made Sam super nervous. It worked, but not advised. But I was super stoked to be able to use all the things I wanted to use on the Devote, but it actually be built for that.
Yeah.
And I could use screws instead of zip ties and electrical tape. So good job.
I mean, it's so cool. You get it done, we've all used sort of the wrong tool for the job, and we've all made it work. And probably our mechanics like Sam are cringing, no, you shouldn't, that should not be rubbing on that. But you make it work, which is great. But like I said, to have a tool that's actually meeting our needs, and that you can take that bike adventuring, you can take it racing. I'm going to race it for the RPI challenge on my course here at home. But yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to some bikepacking adventures too. Where did you guys go on your trip?
Me and Sam, or when I
yeah.
Oh, I guess we haven't really told anybody. We were gallivanting through Montana, retracing the Buffalo Soldiers route. They were a military unit in the late 1800s of black men, all black men, with the exception of their captain, because that's how the world works. And they were testing the how effective it could be to transport people and things via bicycle for the military. And so they were the test subjects, and they rode from,
Wow.
inevitably they rode from Missoula, Montana, all the way to St. Louis, but Sam and I went to Yellowstone, from Missoula to Yellowstone National Park. Well, we made it to West Yellowstone and then back to Helena.
So cool.
Yeah,
That
was
sounds
the
like an
first
awesome
test
ride.
The first test ride they did to see how it would go and see how the bikes were working out.
Wow, what an awesome trip.
They probably
Maybe you need to go, maybe you guys need to plan with the Devote and do the whole thing all the way to St. Louis.
I mean, now we've probably got the time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an interesting point. It's obviously everyone's at home. That's why we're on a Zoom call here together. We all bikes are a gift for us. We're all passionate about it. We've built our careers and our lives around bikes. And people are home, so we're exploring our own backyard. So Ayesha, have you found places like that you've never ridden yet at home? How are you finding inspiration at home?
I've been riding with my husband. He's been really enjoying making routes. We did a new route this morning, and what's really cool is that, like, when he plans a route, it is not always completely different than the routes that I normally ride. Like, I usually get into a rhythm and I'll do the same things over and over again sometimes, just because I'm not thinking about it. But he'll do slight variations to the routes that I've already done, and I'm like, oh wow, I can go that way next time, and that's kind of fun for me. I enjoy that.
That's so cool to like add a little bit of variety in your home turf. I've been doing the same thing, like finding these little side things I haven't taken, or connecting some trails in a way that I haven't connected them before. And I mean, I'm doing that on the Devote too. It's like, I'll do a mountain bike trail that connects to a dirt road that connects to another mountain bike trail. And it's so awesome. It's been really fun. So Serena, let's get to you for now. Bend, Oregon, mountain biker. I think I first met you. We raced against each other. And of course you whooped me in the 100-miler that was out there. I was not having a good day and you were having a great day.
Yeah.
But then we also got connected through base camp, through a training program that you work with this winter. And then you've also been kind of one of our expert contributors for the RPI Challenge, which has been really cool to get to know you that way. Tell us what you're doing with your time and how you're riding your Devote. And you were just in my home state, so it sounds like you're exploring a little bit.
Yeah, being home and not getting on airplanes to travel has provided me with so much opportunity to explore in my own backyard. And then with the introduction of the Devote, it was like extra motivation to just like go exploring. And like all of you, I'm finding new roads and new connectors, and the RPI Challenge and like coming up with your own route. Like, I was like, oh, I'm going to do something new and different that I've never done before, and like went and checked something out. So the Devote came at the perfect time because I've, like Ayesha, was riding the Brava, and I've been riding on gravel forever, for the last 10 years. And having a real dedicated gravel bike makes a difference. It handles better. It takes on like rocky descents better. And it's just been so fun to have that tool during this time to explore. And then I was in Idaho. We took the van out and we're socially distanced off the grid for a while, and got to explore some gravel up by Stanley, which was awesome. And you guys have a lot of climbing.
No, she was in Iowa. I was in
Iowa.
People.
Sorry. Yeah, Iowa. But it was really fun to take the Devote on those like exploration rides. And then I came back home, and this week I've been doing intervals on it. And it's like, wow, I can go hard on this bike. This is a bike that's capable of racing, but also adventuring. And that's one of the things that I was a little skeptical of. Like, okay, this is awesome. It's comfortable for 5 hours of just exploring and adventure, but can it go fast when I need it to go fast? And the answer is definitely yes. It's been really fun to kind of put it to the test from a training standpoint, and using Strava as a benchmark. Like, oh, I've done this same course or this same climb or this same descent on another bike, and then be like bettering my time on the Devote right off the line. So that's really
fun.
cool.
to have that direct comparison. I mean, it doesn't hurt that you're fast as hell, but that's amazing to have that direct comparison. I do all my intervals on the Devote as well. I don't really, I mean, I have a road bike, but I never reach for it, just because of where I live. I'm always reaching either for the Devote or the Peak 29 is pretty much, those are my go-tos. But it's all, like Sam said, it's like where you live and what you have access to, and having a tool that's right for where you live. So did you decide on the RPI challenge? Are you doing the Queen stage race, or are you doing the big, you're doing the stage race?
I'm going to do the stage race. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. And
me too.
I figured that because one of the courses on the original route is Ikalina, which is a ski area, I made one of my routes go through our Nordic ski area, which was fun because, like, I don't really ride up there, but I was like, in the spirit of the event, I'm gonna go check some new stuff out. So yeah, I actually just submitted my routes, and one of them is totally, like, I'd never ridden some of that stuff, and it's like 12 miles from my house. So
that's so cool.
Yeah,
I love it. Well, yeah, we'll be racing against each other then next weekend.
Yeah, is that no 2 weekends?
Not this weekend, the next weekend.
Next weekend, yeah. Okay.
You're okay.
Yeah.
You're okay. You have about a week.
Crystal, you're in, right? Yeah.
Awesome. What are you doing? What route are you doing, Crystal? Which distance?
All 3. The 3-day.
Stage race. Killer. That's killer. Did you design any new routes, or did you have routes around your house that were suitable?
You know, here it's like there's a ton of roads, so it's really just how you connect like a gazillion roads. So it's not like, oh, you do up this one big climb. So it was more trying to figure out the elevation and distance as closely as possible. So it was like, oh, if I go this road, that road. So most of the roads I've done a lot of exploring this year. So I've ridden most of them, but yes, it's just how they're connected. That's a little bit different, but
that's cool.
Yeah, like you.
And for anyone who's listening, like Aisha said, so many events are canceled this year. Almost everything's canceled this year. And so it's like all of a sudden 2020, we're like, okay, what do we do now? And just for me, I was not willing, I'm a little bit stubborn, and like probably everyone on this panel, and was not willing to completely cancel RPI, because for me, and I know for all of us, from just everything I know about you guys, the bikes are connectors, they're a unifier, they bring us together as community, and RPI is also my biggest fundraising event for the Be Good Foundation every year, and I wasn't willing to let go of my community and my purpose. And so the format that we designed this year for the RPI challenge is really a design the RPI simulated route at home, but we're all connected on a community, on a Facebook group, and it's been really cool. And just so you guys all know, our fundraising target this year through the Be Good Foundation, my foundation, the mission statement is to use the bike as a catalyst for healing, empowerment, and evolution. And this year, we've really targeted all of our fundraising goals towards increasing diversity, equity, and inclusion in cycling, and getting more people access to bikes who typically maybe haven't had access or haven't had the opportunity or the representation. And so just so you guys all know, I'm super excited. I know I've talked to all of you a little bit about this, but we've identified our 4 nonprofits that we're working with in that area, and that's the Bahati Foundation in LA, and Grow Cycling Foundation, League of American Bicyclists, who also have a really great program targeted towards exactly what I'm talking about, and World Bicycle Relief. And so I know Aisha and Sam, you guys have been basically thrust to the forefront, as you've always been an inspiration for people getting involved in cycling. But right now, the topic of people of color and accessibility to cycling is right in the forefront. And so what are you doing right now? I know, Aisha, you write a lot. Sam, you've been really vocal. I would love to hear the programs that you're working on, and maybe just kind of where you're going with that, and how we can be involved.
I mean,
Aisha, you want to start, or Sam want to start?
I'll go. I think mostly I've been taking care of myself.
That's awesome.
I think
Yeah.
we've been doing this kind of work for such a long time that like all of it to come to a head the way that it did was very overwhelming. And I think in general, white folks became really demanding, whereas like before we're like, hey guys, care about this, care about this, care about this. And now they're like, we care, what do we do? What do we do? How do we do it? What do we do? And we're like, oh, okay. I need to step back. And so I've been focused on taking care of myself. I've, been working on the Black Foxes, which is a collective of Black cyclists and outdoors people. And that's been really cool to also like, give strength to a platform for some other folks and help them do the things that they enjoy doing. But mostly I've been trying to take care of myself.
I love that you say that, because you've been thrust into this role that maybe you didn't sign up for. You're like, I just want to ride my bike. And that's gotta be exhausting. And I know everyone on this panel is an inspiration, and people look up to you, and they look to you for answers. They look to you for advice. They look to you for what they should do. And that can be really exhausting. And I really like what you said, that first, it's like putting your oxygen mask on first. Before you can help other people, you've got to be strong yourself, and you've got to take care of yourself first. And so I really love that. I also appreciate the writing that you've been doing, Aisha, and at the times where we can vocalize in our own way, during a quiet time, we can put out an article instead of always feeling like we're inundated or having to be everything to everyone. So I really like that you said that you're taking care of yourself. And I'm sure that means riding your bike a whole bunch with your husband and spending time with your family.
Sometimes. It means many things. What about you,
Yeah,
Sam?
I mean, I think that's, What's that?
No, I was asking Sam, what have you
Say that
been-
again? Yeah, I was too. Awesome. Yes. All good.
Seems like two people are asking me the same question.
Yeah, Sam, what's up? What do you got going on?
Working,
Yeah.
taking care of myself. I find it really interesting that, let me start that sentence over. Since cycling is a sport that has historically lacked diversity, like I believe these kind of questions should be asked to entire groups of people, right? Like if I can do work, if Ayesha can do work, everybody can do work, right? And so it's like, I almost want to bounce this question back to you, Rebecca. And you said a lot about the foundation, about the organizations you're helping, right? But it's like, everybody has to be having a hand in this. Like Ayesha and Sam aren't gonna do all the lifting, and we cannot change the cycling industry by ourselves. I think that's the biggest thing that I would like to get across. Like, we've been talking about it for years. Ayesha's been talking about it for longer than me. And here we are today, right? So we need everybody. I
love it. And that's, I love what you're saying. And that's totally part of this conversation. And I am glad it's all part of the conversation, and it's part of the RPI challenge. And I think it's great. I mean, I didn't mean to single you guys out or ask you, but I will say we look to you for inspiration as well. And we look to everyone around us to educate us. I mean, we're all sort of a kind of a combination of the people and experiences in our life. And so some people have different experiences than I do. I have different experiences than other people. So I think asking questions is great, but you're exactly right, is that it's not one person or one group's responsibility. Yeah. And for me, the more people on bikes in the world, the better.
Yeah. And as we look to certain people for inspiration, I think we need to look at each other for action, right? And expect action from everyone. Inspiration is one thing, but once that translates into movement and action and doing, that's when things actually change.
Absolutely.
Time for rest as well, right? Like we all need to rest, but we also need to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a super good point. I know, Sam, you had talked about one of your goals was to ride the Tour Divide for 2020. And obviously 2020 dealt us a totally different deck of cards than we are all planning on. Is that still well, tell people what the Tour Divide is, and then is that still a goal for you, or are you riding it this year?
Yeah, racing it is a goal of mine. It is a route that goes from Banff, Alberta, all the way to Mexico, 2,700 miles. I think it crosses the Continental Divide, I don't know, 20 times. That could be a wrong number. I'm not quite sure. A lot. A lot of climbing. It's pretty remote. And I decided not to go for that this year just because it wasn't smart to, as a person who lives in a city where there's a major outbreak of COVID-19, drag my body through areas that don't have an outbreak or that don't have as much access to healthcare or other things. So it just wasn't a smart move to go out there this year, but it's definitely still on my radar and still something I want to do. There's a grand depart that happens in June every year, where a few people get together and start racing it at the same time. So that's one of my goals for next year, is to get back out there, health permitting.
Will that be the longest ride that you've attempted?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like 2 or 3 weeks, isn't it?
Yeah. Hopefully closer to 2.
Yeah. Short. It's just this little tiny short ride.
I mean, we've been in this for 6 months, so it was a couple of weeks.
Yeah, exactly. So Crystal, I want to ask you, because you focus a lot of your work on giving back in your community, and you've talked about it, you're a coach, but you also give back to your community. What kind of stuff are you doing at home to share kind of your cycling and your knowledge with your community?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the opportunities this year without having so much racing and traveling, is that I've been able to be home and be more accessible. So I mean, here in Northwest Arkansas, there's a group of, I think, 600 or 700 women now that are connected, called the Women of Oz,
Wow.
short for Ozarks, that are getting into mountain biking. And it's largely people who are just getting into mountain biking, like have never been on a bike before. So there's just a huge number of people who have found bikes and want to learn. And that's one of the reasons that we moved here, was there's just this great opportunity to have a meaningful work in the community. So like I had 2 clinics today already. Just getting together with, socially distanced groups, small groups, but it's been great to just go out and work with people, teach them mountain bike skills. And I've done some work with, around nutrition and goal setting and just everything. Like, people are just hungry to eat it all up. So I think that's a blessing, like an unexpected blessing of the year, is just having that time, because usually I'd be tired from training and racing when I was here and just not here. So that's been really, really neat.
I mean, that's cool that you have more space because you are home more and not traveling or training maybe at the top level when you're full-time racing, and to be able to welcome more people to the sport. I mean, cycling is blowing up right now, and people are finding the trails, people are finding bikes, but they also need education on how to ride, what trail etiquette is, how to sort of operate in the outdoors. And I think there's a lot of newcomers finding nature therapy right now, and it's really cool that you're able to share your knowledge with a bunch of newbies.
Yeah, it's definitely a different group. Like, mostly the people I've coached have come from racing or have, a basic knowledge of a lot of things, but it's definitely different to go really back to like when I really first started riding a bike and all the things that you need to think about and all of that. So it's been neat.
I mean, that's so cool. And I mean, Serena, you're coaching as well, right? Are you doing private clients or group rides, or what does your scene look like with your at home with your coaching?
Yeah, so all of my clients are individuals that I coach remotely, and then I'm also part of Base Camp, which you mentioned earlier, which is more online group training that'll really launch this later this fall. So I don't dabble in the clinics like Crystal does, although I think I might come to Arkansas to take one of her clinics because I hear great
Yeah.
things about it. But yeah, I train mostly just adults who are looking to improve their cycling fitness to race. And this summer has been really interesting because so many of them are putting like personal challenges on the calendar. So trying to keep people motivated and inspired through a time where there isn't racing, because it's so great. There's so many different benchmarks, whether it be like power numbers or distance or a route you've never been able to do and wanted to. So lots of ways to stay motivated.
I know for me, I mean, that's partially why I did the RPI challenge and the Everesting thing, is because I needed a goal, because I was sitting on my butt and I was not motivated, and I needed something to kind of keep me honest. And I know for me, when I'm physically healthy, then I'm mentally healthy. And I found I was sort of spiraling down a little bit emotionally in this sort of world that we're in right now. And you know, kind of like Ayesha said, I had to take care of myself to get my fitness in order so that I could sort of mentally feel strong and kind of get after it again.
Rebecca,
all right, ladies, I want to get.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you a question. Have you ever raced the Rebecca's Private Idaho course before? Will this be your first time?
No. And well, I always ride it, but I like social ride. I'm like handing up water bottles. I'm helping people. I'm changing flat tires. And so I've never, like, when the gun goes off, like start to finish, tried to do the course as fast. And of course I set the course, so I've ridden it, but I've never raced it. So I'm kind of nervous about next weekend because it's a really hard course and 3 days in a row. And so I'm actually kind of excited to see and compare my time to people like you and some of our past winners. And so it'll be really cool. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And kind of like Sam said, you know, when I'm on my bike, I'm an escape. Like where I live, there's no cell phone coverage when I'm riding. And so I'm really looking forward to 3 days of just kind of going and riding my bike alone, but, you know, with a whole bunch of other people doing it at the same time around their home turf. But yeah, I'll get to race it. So I'm a little bit nervous about it. Yeah, it'll be cool. So Ayesha, I want to ask the whole group, but I'll start with Ayesha. Some of your top tips for gravel riding, either for the new person or somebody wanting to race. Top few gravel riding tips.
I mean, I guess I don't consider myself I consider myself the least experienced gravel rider on this Zoom right now.
Or riding tips. It doesn't have to be gravel. That's cool.
No, I think that's an asset, actually.
Okay.
When Sam encouraged me to do that 200-mile gravel race, and I'd never before that day ridden gravel really ever in my whole life. And it was a very challenging course, and I did have a lot of like confidence in my like handling skills on the road, and I think that definitely helped. But I think the best advice that I've ever gotten about off-road stuff, because I don't like pointy rocks and sticks and things, they hurt, right? If you fall on them. Trust that the equipment's going to do what it's supposed to do. And it's meant to roll over those things. Like on the road, any sort of, like, you call out when you see gravel, you literally say gravel and people avoid it. And so this idea that you're deliberately riding on gravel is foreign when you do it for the first time. So the idea that your equipment is meant for this purpose and it's okay to be there and it's okay to ride on it and just keep pedaling and go forward.
I love that. Yeah. It does go over stuff. Like I know roadies are like avoiding things and you know, if you come from a mountain bike background, you're like trying to go over the curbs, you're trying to go over the bumps, but as a roadie, you're trying to avoid it. And then gravel's somewhere in the middle where you could probably go over it. That's super cool. Do you mountain bike at all, Aisha?
I have been mountain biking lately and it's super fun. Everyone convinced me to go to the top at Snowbird last year, and I still regret that. I was not prepared for that level of mountain biking, but I do pretty good on a blue trail, and it's super fun. And I did take the Devote on like a green trail and a blue trail around here, which is not like Snowbird, Utah at all. But it did really well, and it was super fun. So.
Oh, that's awesome. It sounds like Sam kind of talks you into doing a bunch of things, and maybe you talk her into doing a bunch of things as well.
It's a give and take for sure.
That's amazing. All right, so Serena, what would be some of your top tips for gravel?
I would say my very top tip is to lower your tire pressure. It makes for a much more comfortable ride. It's easier to climb, it's easier to descend, and just a few PSI makes a huge difference. So definitely that would be my top tip. Second tip would be try climbing in the seated position on loose gravel and loose surfaces, because you just get better traction, and you can typically stay on your bike longer. And the third would be gravel allows us to go to more remote places, and it's sometimes those places without cell phones and you don't see a lot of passing cars. So have a repair kit, know how to use your tools, carry a quick link and a chain breaker and all of your flat repair tools, and don't just carry them, know how to use them. So that's the beauty of gravel, is that you can get really far away from everyone, but you also don't want to get stuck. So
Can I add?
Those are, yeah.
Consider tubeless. It is
yes.
your friend. It can be your very best friend.
Yeah. Yes.
Do people not ride tubeless? Am I, does anyone?
I think a lot of people are still afraid of it because it's still a newer concept, and it's, I don't know, it's great. Like, I was afraid of it for a while, and now I'm like, why would you not do this?
Yeah. Even on the road, like all my
Yeah,
bikes are set up that way. Yeah, that's
I'll
great.
add one thing to the thing you added, and that if you are going to ride tubeless, make sure you are physically able to get your tire on and off by yourself, because some like rim and tire combos just are not friends, and it's very, very difficult to it can be difficult to unseat a tubeless tire. So yeah, just check.
And carry tire plugs.
Yeah.
With you.
Sam, what other tips do you have besides knowing that your tires and rims are playing nicely together if you go tubeless?
Eat before you're hungry and drink before you're thirsty. It's really hard to get out of a calorie ditch when you're away from everyone and away from access to food. Same with water. And then I guess both of my tips don't relate to bike, but the other one would be like ride the wave. So when you feel really good, like go for it, and it's freaking awesome. And when you don't feel good, just like, all right, soon I'm gonna feel good.
It's always temporary.
It happens. There's always a low point and a high point to every race or ride or exploration. So ride those waves.
My very first eco challenge, a mentor woman friend of mine who was really experienced, she basically told me almost exactly that same thing, and I've remembered it my whole life. She said, we were starting Eco Challenge Australia, and I was totally green. And she just said, remember, no matter how good you feel or how bad you feel, it won't last. I'm like, okay. So that's exactly, really great advice. All right, Crystal, what do you have for us? Gravel tips.
You guys covered so many good ones already. I think related to those, the theme of being remote and being out further than you might be, like bring enough water and enough food. A lot of people I talk to end up running out of one or two of those things. And one thing my quarantine buddy riding partner this winter brought was a water filter, and it's very lightweight, so it doesn't take up a lot of space. But if you are going to be remote and there won't necessarily be a store to stop for water, like that is amazing, because you can, at least here, there's streams everywhere and lakes, so that is a really useful thing to carry you might not think of. So I don't know, do any of you carry those? Have you used those?
Depends.
Like on your lawn? Yeah.
It depends on what I'm doing and where I'm going. And sometimes I'll carry chlorine tablets but yeah, some way to get water out of streams if you're really going big.
Yeah. Or if you live in Arkansas when it's 100% humidity and you go through 4 bottles in 2 hours.
Oh, there you go.
You don't even have to go that far to need so much water.
That's a whole lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I love what you guys are saying. Just to kind of summarize, it's basically like preparedness, you know, food, water, you know, so preparedness, don't go out without knowing what you're doing, having confidence in the equipment and that you can do it. And then number three, you know, taking care of your body and taking care of yourself. I might add a few little actual just tech tips for riding is learning how to ride in the drops. If people come from mountain biking, often onto a curvy bar, they're not comfortable getting down in the drops. And for descending on gravel and uneven surface, it's definitely a more confidence inspiring position to be in. And get some friends and ride with some buddies who are maybe a little bit better and can offer some tips, because there's nothing like somebody to show you around. If you're new to something, ask questions. I think that's a great way to get involved. And what I said in the beginning, what I love about gravel, it is like the welcome place for everybody. Anyone can do it, whether you're on a fat bike, a Devote gravel bike, a road bike, a mountain bike, any ability level. Everyone has a dirt road near them. And it's a lot less intimidating to try riding there than it is maybe mountain biking on single track for the first time, or riding in an urban area where you don't feel safe because of cars and traffic and other stuff. So if you haven't tried gravel yet, it really is a cool place to go exploring and kind of find yourself. We're almost out of time. I want to wrap up with the team here and ask you two questions. Three questions, and we'll go in order. So anything else you wanted to add that we didn't cover? Number two, words that you live by. And then number three, where people can find you if they want to connect with you. So Serena, let's start with you. Anything to add?
No, I think this combination of people and experiences was awesome. So thanks for including me. Words to live by. Well, they kind of change, but I think right now it's being resilient and adaptable in the year 2020. And you can find me at Serena BG on Instagram. That's where I'm most active.
Awesome. Thank you, Serena. It's been really fun to have you here too. I feel honored to be part of this group. Ayesha, let's take you next. Anything to add, words you live by, and where to find you?
I think I will add, remember to have fun. Words to live by, changes also, but I like to think if it's not fun, it's not worth it. And you can find me at I suppose on most platforms, but it's AYESUPPOSE because it's a pun.
Sam, how about you?
Aisha took mine.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. No, that's important. I think it should be said twice. Remember to have fun. Take people that are close to you with you out there and just go for 5 miles or 10 miles or 100 miles, however long you want. There's no rules about that. And words to live by are from my dad, and it's an acronym. It's FOGYCB. FOHGYCB, and it stands for find out how good you can be. So it's like a little challenge to yourself to just, if you don't know if you can do something or if you'll be good at it or bad at it, it's go see and find out. Who knows? I just want to say that since gravel riding typically happens in remote areas, in large open spaces, I want to make sure that people are critically thinking and acknowledging the land that they're on, whose land it belongs to, and the kind of heritage and traditions that come along with that. It's one thing to acknowledge, but also to dig deeper and learn and pay respect and homage to folks that were there before them and whose land it belongs to is super important. So in addition to getting a good workout in and being with your friends and eating a good snack, think really deeply about where you are, why you're there, and who else is there and has been there.
I love that. I mean, the bike is such a great way to explore and meet other cultures and other people and go to other places and learn history and learn about where we're spending our time. And I love that. So that's a really good point. Thanks for adding that.
Yeah. And you can find me on the internet at Salmonella, which is Salmonella with an I instead of an E.
Awesome. Crystal, how about you?
Yeah, I think I would just reinforce that, for me, bikes have always been a way of connecting with people. Like, I grew up in a family of cyclists, and we still bond over getting back together and cycling. And with my community, that's super important. And so, as very competitive as I will be in a race, like at heart, it's something that is such a great place of connection. So I guess I would add that. And words to live by, I like Mary Oliver. Tell me what it is you plan to do with your one wild and precious life. And I am on Instagram at Crystal J. Anthony, and that's where I'm most active.
That's so awesome. I mean, all I would add is, I mean, bikes connect people, place, and purpose. And I love that all of you here are riding your bikes with, celebrating the place, connecting people, and riding with purpose. It's so amazing. It's such a gift. I feel honored to be among your company here. I feel really grateful to Liv for connecting us via the Devote bike. It's like our connection right now. And I really look forward to actually riding with all of you in person at some point in the near future. But until then, it's been really cool to talk to you and share your stories. I'm really thankful that you're part of the RPI challenge and that you guys are riding alongside with me. And the words that I live by, kind of, Sam, along your lines, they're from my father as well. And it's how he signed all of his letters home from the Vietnam War, with the words, be good. And so whenever I don't know what to do, I just decide to be good. And it really is quite simple. But sharing the gift of the bike that you guys are all doing, I'm so grateful. Thank you. It's amazing to have you all on here, and mostly thank you to Liv for designing the most amazing bike in the world that is going to fuel all of these adventures. I really look forward to riding with all of you soon, and be good.